Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Charles Green and I'm part of the marketing team here at Belatrix Software, and I'm going to be your host today. Firstly, many thanks to all of you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join this call. And today we're going to be discussing Aurelia. For those of you who are not familiar with Aurelia, this is a next generation JavaScript framework, and what that simply means is that if you're looking to create and develop rich user experiences with your applications, then keep on listening. And for those of you not familiar with Belatrix, we are a specialist software product development company. We're headquartered in Argentina with offices in Buenos Aires and Mendoza. We also have offices in Lima, Peru, as well as a presence in the USA. And all we aim to do here is to create great software experiences for our customers. And recently we have been using Aurelia. And so for this webinar, I asked two of our experts to join us today to explain some of the work they are doing and to share some of their insights with the framework with you today. So I'm delighted to be joined by Guillermo Eyherabide and Hugo Marcelo del Negro. Hugo, would you like to introduce yourself first?
Hey everyone, welcome to this webinar. I'm Marcelo. I'm involved on development areas for 2 years. I'm working at Belatrix from December with the SME role. I get really funny architecting apps and learning from new technologies. Currently, I'm working for 2 applications that use Aurelia as its running framework. We are building currently to an application located in the United States, a single-page application. Next to me is Guillermo.
Hello, as also say, my name is Guillermo. I'm a developer with 5 years experience, mostly with .NET technologies. I joined Belatrix in January, almost 6 months ago. And as he says, I'm working with him in one of the 2 projects that we are using in Aurelia.
Excellent, thank you guys. And just very briefly before we get started into the meat of the presentation, I should mention that we will be delighted to take questions during the session today, and you can do that either by the chat box on the bottom right-hand side of your screen, or via Twitter, where we're going to be live tweeting throughout the webinar today using the hashtag #AureliaApps. Now to get started, I want to give a very short background before handing over to Guillermo and Hugo. So even though JavaScript has been criticized to some extent, it is one of the most popular and growing programming languages for building software. And that's because you can find it in any of the layers that compound the software system. So now for now you can find JavaScript in the browser or the client side or web application, but you can also use JavaScript to develop server-side applications as well. But one of the key advantages of using JavaScript is that it's web browser compatible, which means that it's supported by the most common browsers from Chrome to Firefox or Microsoft Edge. And it's also very easy to learn from scratch. It's easy to learn for developers. And as a result, as you can see here in the slide, is that JavaScript over the past few years has become the most popular language for software development. And as a consequence of its popularity, it's often easier for technology teams to recruit people with a background in JavaScript than, say, web developers of other languages. And today, JavaScript frameworks are growing even faster. If you think, for example, of AngularJS, for example, which has received a lot of publicity in recent years. But today, we want to focus on Aurelia, which hasn't had quite as much publicity or quite as much attention as AngularJS. So at this point, I want to pass over to Hugo and Guillermo to discuss exactly what is Aurelia.
Okay. Well, we can start probably talking a little bit about JavaScript being our most popular object-oriented programming language and the most used around the world. JavaScript is a lightweight, small, and is a a cross-platform language. We can process JavaScript on client side and server side. In client side, JavaScript extends the core language by supplying object control in a browser and extends its DOM. If we talk about the server side, a couple of years ago, Google company released Node.js, which is part of the Chrome product. Node.js was used to create Node.js. It is being used to process JavaScript on server side. It is known as one of the most scalable ways to write high latency applications. Aurelia is a new powerful JavaScript client framework that we can use to build single-page applications. Today on our modern architectures, it's a common thing to create single-page applications, probably using Knockout.js or Angular.js. Well, Aurelia is a new one that any developer can use to create mobile applications, probably using PhoneGap or Crosswalk. In a combination with Aurelia, we can write desktop applications using Electron framework or web apps to the browser, as we are doing here in Belatrix. Aurelia is written in a modern and future JavaScript. It takes a new approach to its architecture. It's not a monolithic framework. Instead, it is created based on collaborative libraries. That's what Aurelia is. It has some support from the Durandal team, where Rob Heisenberg, the Durandal CTO, started creating that product. So Guillermo will introduce a little bit about the support that Aurelia has nowadays, what they offer to us.
Thanks. Yes, as Marcelo said, Aurelia is an official product of Durandal. It's actually an evolution of Durandal framework, so there's a lot of experience regarding single-page application architecture. It's one of the many advantages and the many different things that Aurelia has from other frameworks. So you can take advantage of its architectural advice, consulting, or also some trainings that Durandal provides. Next, Marcelo is going to talk about some of the advantages more explicitly of Aurelia.
Yeah. Well, in order to continue with the new stuff that comes with Aurelia, we're gonna go in deep in the framework to understand a little bit how Aurelia works. We can say that its vanilla has been written 100% using ECMAScript 2016. And in order to use that, Aurelia use a support technology which are transpilers. We are going to talk a little bit about transpilers later, but we need to know that they exist and is what we use to get Aurelia working. Aurelia has no external dependencies. It just needs some polyfiles that allow us to introduce the new standards that web components offer. Web components was incorporated in HTML5, and it basically is composed by 4 elements. Web components elements are custom elements, templates, shadow DOM, HTML imports. It also supports two-way data binding support like Angular.js or Knockout.js does, but it also supports other kind of bindings. It's pretty powerful. It not only supports two-way bindings, it also supports one-way, one-time bindings. If we do not need to have something to be observable every time, we can, interchange and use another kind of data binding. Aurelia also can be, your applications using Aurelia can be used ECMAScript 2015, 2016, and TypeScript as its native languages. Aurelia also includes a dependency injection container engine. That engine was created by Rob Heisenberg before creating Aurelia. It was introduced in the framework. Talking about HTML by using Aurelia, as we did in AngularJS also, we can create our custom elements and custom attributes, but differently we use web components standard to do that. Regarding its architecture, it's modern. We don't have monolithic library. We have several libraries that collaborate one with each other, using that dependency injection engine I was talking about. Behind Aurelia also there is a pretty big community working and evolving that product every time. So we're going to continue in depth with Aurelia, and Guillermo will talk about a little bit about some components we use, like package managers and those support technologies we have.
Yes, in Aurelia we have the npm package manager, that is the node package manager for the server side, and it makes really easy for the developer to share and reuse code. So in Aurelia we will use npm to install the right tool for our environment, like Gulp or JSPM itself. JSPM is the package manager for the browser, and it's designed to be used with System.js. It supports circular dependencies and allows to manage external packages really easy and bring them into our application, importing them with System.js. What is really great about this is that you can refer any style package by name, thanks to the configuration file that JSPM built when we ran the JSPM install to install our dependencies. So you almost forget about some dependencies problem, like putting the scripts in the right order or updating the versioning of your dependencies. It's really easy to use and to import them using System.js. As you know, it's the universal module loader that allows us to import ES6 modules and more.
Yeah, that's like using, for example, Broadside. Those JavaScript developers will know that. They usually, JavaScript developers, we want to have modules, import modules, and have those kind of facilities. So in those opportunities, we have to use Broadside, require JS, point to a particular folder, use paths to do that. So now we have all that integrated on JSPM through System.js engine. It will not only allow us to download dependencies, manage dependencies, download packages, but also it would also provide us the ability to import files and use modules. Everything is in there. So if we continue, we're going to talk about transpilers and polyfiles. As I say, transpilers is a support technology really used, and polyfiles, it's the only dependency we have when using Aurelia. Normally, developers will use ECMA 2016 to write applications. As we know, that language is not fully supported by the modern browsers and the older also. So in order to make it possible, to write next generation JavaScript, we use transpilers. Transpilers is a type of compiler that makes the source code of a program written in a programming language to be in a different and equivalent language, right? We change the syntax. There are two transpilers. The most used are Babel on its version 6 and Trezor, which was created by Google. The difference between them is that they generate a different output. The JavaScript they translate is different, but there is no differences regarding performance or the specification they support. They're actually the same. So using Aurelia, we can switch, use Babel or use Trezor. It depends on what we want to use. On the other hand, I said before we have web elements. Web elements were templates, shadow DOM, custom elements, and the only way we have to support them in our browsers is using polyfiles. We will have to install it into our real application, and we will have field support for that. Next one, Gulp is another technology, another support technology we use. So Guillermo is going to take a little bit about it.
Gulp, you may actually heard about it or use it because it's a very new tool, so it's been around for a while. But for those who don't know, what Gulp does is TestRunner, similar to Grant, and what it's for is it helps us to automate repetitive or time-consuming tasks in our development workflow, like compilation, minification, unit testing, and transpiling. What's really nice about it is really easy to use it because of its pipeline architecture. Using the pipe function, you have to append all the steps, and every output of this method it becomes the input of the next one. So it's really simple, and it also allows us to run tasks in parallel, like building your SAS file with your code and bundling. Next, Marcelo is going to talk about some trainings on Broadside.
Yeah. For those who want to be started using Aurelia framework, next slide, we are gonna see there are trainings that are being provided by Broadside. Broadside, as probably most of the developers know, is one of the most interesting resources to learn software and architecture. When we start working in Belatrix, we use Broadside as our resource to start learning Aurelia, since it was at the moment the only resource we have. So we did the courses in Broadside, and we started coding our products. But our team generally is people coming from AngularJS or Knockout.js. For them, it was pretty easy to start doing Aurelia, since we keep some of the concepts we use with those frameworks, but you know, the learning curve is pretty slow. We can find trainings provided by the Aurelia team also. They provide code reviews, on-site trainings, and different commercial stuff. The community can also help us to resolve issues or cover some doubts we can have during our development stage. We strongly recommend talk with the Aurelia community through Git channels or GitHub. We usually have issues or bugs to resolve, we put in connection with them. They help us. It's really, you know, a useful resource we have here in Belatrix. So it's almost everything we need to know about Aurelia to start using it. We talk about all the support technologies, where we can learn Aurelia, what the transpilers are, and the new standards for the web. So next, we're going to start looking at the code, what the syntax is. It's probably what developers want to see. So we can start talking a little bit and briefly about the view model. A view model is a very basic concept of model view model architecture. Aurelia components or elements normally are a view and a view model. It's every component we build with Aurelia needs those two files. Every change produced in the view model is instantaneously reflected in the view. Usually a view model will contain data which is being observed. Everybody knows the observed pattern, and the data is being observed and has behavior. So in next slide we will see a little bit the syntax we have in a view model. Usually we will create an ECMA6 class. Here we have a welcome class. It will be a view model. Here in first name, last name here are observable variables. Field name, it's a property. It's like a computed field. If someone comes from Code.js, it's like a field composed with another one. And then we have behavior like submit method. After that, we are gonna see how the view connects to that view model and react to the changes. So Guillermo will talk about a little bit about the view and how it looks like from the code perspective.
Yeah, the view, it's pretty simple. It's written with HTML. It's what is get rendered into the DOM. And as Aurelia uses the MVVM pattern, it provides a good separation of concerns. So it's great for developers and designers to work together and to maintain, and also it's pretty flexible. On the next slide we have some of the syntax of the view. It's, as I said, it's pretty much HTML. So the new thing that you may see is the template tag. It's part of the W3C specification for web components. And every view in Aurelia, it has a template tag. Some other new things might be the heading. That's a string operation that uses Aurelia, ECMAScript 6. And we can see also some bindings out there. That is some of the custom elements out Aurelia.
Yeah, as we can see in there, we have a submit that trigger. That's mostly the way Aurelia communicates its view model. Here is how Aurelia is being executing the action in the view model. Submit that trigger will execute an event into the view model. We also have like interpolations where we show the full name. It's between brackets, and also we have first name and last name into a value that bind attribute. That value bind communicates with the view model and every change that is produced in the view is reflected in the view model, as I said before. So at the time we submit that form, we already have the information in the view model. We don't need to send parameters or anything like that. Everything is in there in the view model. So that's how Aurelia works, and it's pretty interesting. And probably those coming from AngularJS already know that, but they will notice that the syntax talking about the code lines will be reduced, but it's something that we can see by using it day by day. Next slide. We're gonna talk about the router.
Aurelia provides its own router functionality, client-side routing, and it's really cool. It has some of the parameters, and it's really easy to use it. As we see in the next slide, we have the syntax. That is this is an example of the configuration router. It had some routes with the name and the default value if this route is empty. The module ID, that's where it goes for looking the files, and some properties that it's going to say if it's going to be on the navigation or not. And the last image is the router view. That's the Aurelia custom element where the current navigation screen will be rendered. So every page that you will navigate to it will be rendered to that tag.
Can we display next slide, please, guys?
Okay, well, that's the basic configuration, and you may see that one too if you download the Aurelia skeleton. It's an out-of-the-box Aurelia application, so it has all the configuration inside it and also this example of the router. Next slide will be the dependency injection container.
Okay, probably one of the most interesting things and components already has. From Angular, we are having dependency injection as a new feature. So in that way, we can break down complexity and make our components to interact one with each others. Here in Aurelia, we remain the same concept of dependency injection. That engine that Aurelia has was created by the Durandal CTO, who is Rob Heisenberg. He created that engine before creating Aurelia. Normally, I'm talking about dependency injection. When a developer builds application, they tend to break down problems, complexity into small problems. So we developers usually create objects where each is responsible for something specific and no more. In that way, we can apply the inversion of control solid principle by using that engine. It really offers that, so we can create an application where objects collaborate with each other to resolve a problem. Having dependency injection allows us to write and improve our unit testing. We don't need to have new sentences or instant sentences in our code. Our container is responsible to doing it. We don't need to create or declare and somewhere in the code which instance is which object. We don't have to do anything like that. Aurelia controls everything itself. We are going to use in Aurelia an adapted version of Protractor that it's probably used on Angular to make automation. But also we use Karma Test framework. With Karma Test framework, we can take advantage of the dependency injection, create unit tests against those components, and increase, our code coverage. Please, if we go to the next slide, we're going to see how it works. Okay, here we have a common view model. As we can see here, every framework has inside the inject component. It will allow us to make the dependency injection possible. And on the other hand, we have a customer service that communicates with the backend or endpoints in the API. Whatever it does, we only want to inject it into the constructor. We can see there an inject decorator, which is a new feature for ECMAScript 7, which is coming. We already support it in Aurelia, and there is the dependency injection in place. We only need to import that and apply a decorator, and we have an injection done in there. As we can see, when the view model is getting activated, we already have available the customer service instance, and we can use it. Okay. Next, we are going to talk a little bit about value converters. So, Guillermo?
Yeah, we can go directly to the next slide. Value converters, well, basically it's a class whose responsibility is to convert view model values into values that are provided to display in the view and the other way around. So in these examples, we see that's implemented to view method. That's really clear to see which direction the data is flowing. So if we wanted to make it two-way, we just need to implement the from view method. On the next slide, we will see how this is used on the HTML. Okay, well, we see a required tag, and that is implementing the value converters, and we can see that the value converters are implemented with the pipe and the name of the value converter. Then, as Aurelia it's designed to use convention over configuration. You can see that the name date format is simpler than the class of the value converter. The class of the value converter is date format value converter, but to implement it, you have to type only the first part, that is the name. That's really simple to use and cool.
Yeah, if we notice, the syntax in there is pretty similar, straightforward to Linux command line, where we have an input, and that input is passed to the formatter, and the format provides a different view. So that's pretty nice. We will have some other things similar to Bash command line, but it's something we're gonna look later. And next slide, we can start talking about different feature. Here we are already on template, talking about template stuff. Custom attributes allow us to extend part of our DOM elements. When we use those custom attributes, we can add behavior to any existing element. Let's see an example on the next slide. Okay, here we are. We are creating a red dash square view model. It's a class, right? As we did with the view models. We have constructors. We can do dependency injection in there, and we use it in our view. Let's see how we include our required tag, and it is importing that new view model, and we add the attribute to a div element here. What will happen with that? Well, the div element will get red. So we extended and created an existing attribute we can use into any element we have here. Another nice feature is the custom elements, which are pretty similar to custom attributes. So Guillermo will introduce that concept a little bit. Next slide. Perfect.
Yeah, well, we can go directly to the syntax slide, so please, okay, thanks. So here's the syntax of the custom elements. Custom element is one of the primary tools that an Aurelia application developer will be using, and it allows you to define the user interface and the logic. Okay, this is probably not the best example of a custom component, but you can expose some data bindings, properties, and handling the lifecycle events inside your custom component. One other cool thing about custom components is that you can create HTML only components, or you can create a view model and a view pair.
Yeah, probably we can compare that feature with an Angular directive. Directives are pretty exactly the same. So if there are developers that comes from Angular, it will be pretty easy to learn how custom elements works. So on next slide, we're going to talk about a pretty important concept, which is the event aggregator. This is one of my favorite ones. Event aggregator is a very known pattern. Martin Fowler says channel events from multiple objects into a single object to simplify registration for clients. Okay, so I already introduced it as its own lightweight publish, subscribe messaging system for an app wide or per object loosely coupled events. If anyone has used a domain-driven design architecture, or DDD, they probably will has been involved with domain events. It works like a channel. Currently, we have examples of that on Azure, for instance, where we use service bus. We throw an event in the bus, and all the subscriber attached to the service bus will take that event and do something with that. In Aurelia, we use it to intercommunicate components among the application. We can go to next slide. We will see how it works. Okay, it's pretty simple. An example I'm going to use here. We have a view with three buttons. The first one publish a message to the channel. The next one subscribe to a channel, and the third one will just kill our event aggregator. If we go to next slide, we're gonna see how it works. Okay, here we are. Event Aggregator comes from the Aurelia engine also as a different library, but anyways, it is part of Aurelia. If you download Aurelia, you will have events available to use. We are injecting that aggregator at the view model, and if we check a little bit how publish works, we will have an event name. It could be an ID, it could be any string you want, it could be a class also. So you can publish a message using a name, an identifier, or a type. And if you see at the second parameter, there is a payload. Payload is no more than data. You can send JSON, you can send whatever you want in there. In the next method, we have subscribe. Subscribe, what it does is say to the event aggregator channel, hey, just subscribe me, I want to receive everything coming from that name. I'm gonna process it later. There could be many components that are subscribed to my event name, and those components will react to that event once it was thrown. That event comes with data or could be empty. We have overloaded that method. It's commonly used, to intercommunicate components. It's probably the main function, but actually there is more to use than that. As I say, it's a pattern, and as a pattern, we can have a lot of ways to use that. The third method, we are just killing the subscriber. It is being disposed, right? So that is how it works. It's pretty nice. So I guess we have covered most of the matters to talk about Aurelia. We presented its core, the support technologies, dependencies, and we have seen a little bit about the code we can create with Aurelia. It's pretty introductory, but anyone can use it. There is a lot of resources in the web to use. There is documentation, there are repositories, there are Git channels to talk with the people. Everybody can collaborate with the project. So I just say use it if you can. Here in Belatrix, we were able to put up an application into production in 6 months using Aurelia. It was pretty straightforward for us. We usually have challenges in that, but we really enjoy doing it. It's something new. It's, the future JavaScript, new patterns coming. So it's pretty nice, guys. So next slide is a thank you to everyone.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, guys. I'd just like to remind everyone on the call today that if you want to ask a question, this is your chance to do so. We've got a couple of experts on the call, so you can ask a question either via the chat box in the bottom right-hand side of your screen, or you can ask a question via Twitter using the hashtag #AureliaApps, and we'll be hanging on the line just for a couple more minutes to see if any questions come in. But actually, I see we had one question which was asked during the presentation, and that was we've spoken today about a lot of the advantages of Aurelia, how to get started with Aurelia. But this person is asking about, have you faced any challenges or any difficulties with using Aurelia?
Something that we haven't said is that Aurelia is still in alpha version, so it's not a beta version, and it's not a release version. It's just in alpha phase. So as every component that is in that phase, there are changes every day. and it could affect everybody who is using Aurelia. Aurelia probably will be released on December this year, but we, for example, working on our application, we have found that we lost support from, for example, the core when it was created. For example, it's 3 months later to starting working with Aurelia, we noticed that the core was replaced. We had to find a way to cover that. We had to update the full libraries of Aurelia, remove those unuseful dependencies. We had to put in communication with the community. We have raised bugs in there. It was the most difficult thing we had to do, but the community was there and they helped us. We found a solution in a day, and at the end of the day we had the application working again. But normally that's one of the things that happen. It's not a release version and things are being updated nightly, for example.
Okay, excellent, thank you. And I see we don't have any further questions at the moment from the audience. We have no further questions on Twitter or in the chat box. Hugo, Guillermo, do you have any final thoughts you want to leave the audience with?
Yes, I just say try to use Aurelia. It's an evolution. It's evolution of the current JavaScript we use. There are new patterns, new best practices to use, new things to learn. It's very challenging. So I say that just try to use it. If you are using Angular, if you are building a single page application, or just trying to start a new one, probably Aurelia is a good choice to you. We have support, we have trainings, there are books, there are things coming. There are many people working on that. There are more persons working with Aurelia already and trying to put systems on production. So it's a good choice. Use it.
Yeah, I think if you're not coming from a front-end framework world, it's really good to start with Aurelia, because I think the learning curve about Aurelia is shorter than in other frameworks. So it's really easy to learn to use it, to learn how to use it, and to start developing. One of the greatest things also was when we were developing our application, we were having mobile support, but we were testing it with a tool on the browser. So the first time we get our hands with the application on our phone, it was really fast, it was really smooth, so it's a really nice framework to use.
Yes, so well, I guess I have to say thank you to all. We will be glad to receive questions or whatever. We are every day working with Aurelia, and it will be nice to have questions. If someone needs some help, it would be nice. So
absolutely, and I would just echo that to the audience as well, that as you mentioned, we're working with Aurelia every day. This is really our passion, what we do here at Belatrix. It's about creating great software. It's about creating great software experiences. So if you do have questions, or if you think we can help you in some of your initiatives, then please do reach out to us, and we'd be delighted to have that conversation. And with that, I would like to say a very big thank you to Hugo and to Guillermo. Thank you very much for sharing your expertise today. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you to the audience for joining us today. And as mentioned, if you do have questions, please do reach out to us. And with that, I would like to say thank you and have a good day.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Charles. Thank you, Ale.